Hey everyone, welcome to the top 10 list. Welcome to my top 10 favorite Steve Martin movies. Yes, Steve Martin is a great actor. He can be a very serious actor, as weird as it is. Yeah, he can be a very good, serious actor, and obviously a great comedic actor who I've always loved. I've been watching Steve Martin movies ever since I've been younger. When I got older, I got introduced to his other, more mature films, but even films when I watched of his when I was a kid, I always loved his work. I always found him absolutely laugh out loud hysterical, and I was just really in a mood to talk about Steve Martin. So yeah, that's why I want to give this list for you guys. This is my top 10 personal favorite Steve Martin movies. All right, let's get into it. And before a top 10 list, you gotta have your honorable mentions. And my honorable mentions are, there's a few of them, and those are It's Complicated, Father of the Bride, Three Amigos, Shop Girl, Looney Tunes Back in Action, The Man with Two Brains, and The Spanish Prisoner. Very underrated Hitchcockian sort of feel of a movie. And yeah, those are all great movies, but they just couldn't make the top 10 list. But they made my top 10 as my number 10. And my number 10 is a tie between two kids' movies in a way. And yeah, these are amazing films, and if I judge them as movies, these would be on my top 3, but these are Steve Martin movies, so they're very much lower. And you'll understand why when I say it, and that's the Muppet movie and Prince of Egypt. I put them both as a tie because I needed to put them both on the list because he's in both these films. He's just not a very big character in them. Like in the Prince of Egypt, he's like a side character. He works for Ramesses. He's one of the servants with Martin Short and stuff. And you're playing with the big boys now. And just like, he's not very big in the role. He's just one of these like priests who believe in the god of Ra and stuff. In the Muppet movie, he's even less in. He's almost borderline a cameo, but he's still in them. He's still credited in them, and they're amazing films. Like, I grew up with the Muppets, and the Muppet movie is like one of my favorite Muppet movies. Yeah, The Muppets from 2011 is actually my favorite Muppet movie. I fucking love what Jason Segel did with that film, but the original 70s classic Muppet movie is still a fantastic film, and yeah, I absolutely adore it. Like, come on, Rainbow Connection. Oh, this cheers me up a little bit, but yeah. It's a great movie and a fun Muppet movie, and Prince of Egypt is one of my favorite animated films of all time. It's the best DreamWorks animated film. But again, if he was a bigger character, it'd be bigger on the list, but he's a very small role. So both these films, again, as great as they are, they can only make number 10 because he himself isn't very big in them, so they still made the list, though. Coming in number 9 is a film I know would probably make a lot of people's favorites, or even top 5s at least, and that's The Jerk. The Jerk is so good and is so funny. I really wish I watched it so much earlier in life and stuff, because I know a lot of people grew up with this movie and everything. I didn't watch it until I was like 18 years old. I watched this when I was so much older. I still found it super, super funny because it's about a guy who was raised by like African Americans, and he himself thinks he's black and stuff, and it's really, really funny and stuff. And it's about him, how he comes into money and he gets all this power and everything, and turns into a jerk and stuff. It's a really, really funny film. Steve Martin is absolutely laugh out loud hilarious. He makes this entire film. This film is nothing without Steve Martin's comedy, like his wit, his sense of humor, his sarcasm, just his insults. Like, they would make Steve Martin, and he is absolutely laugh out loud hysterical. Again, if I grew up with this movie, I probably would have loved it more and stuff, and I probably would have put it much lower on the list, but since I've only seen this movie a couple times and stuff, because I only watched it when I was like 18 and everything, later on in life I watched it, it doesn't have as much impact as it does a lot of other people, especially people who grew up in the 80s when this movie came out, because I know this movie, a lot of people loved this movie, and like a lot of people said, like, I grew up with this movie. I myself have not. I watched it later in life, but I still find it a funny film. Coming in number 8 is a fantastic character study and also a very, very funny film, and that's LA Story. LA Story is a film I watched, again, like about a couple years back and stuff, when I was actually watching a lot of Steve Martin movies and stuff. I wanted to watch like his whole filmography and everything, and I watched LA Story. I loved LA Story's romance in the movie. It's a side romance, and there's also some dramatic scenes, and there's a lot of comedy. The comedy really hits for me, and I love Steve Martin's performance is super good in this movie, and it really shows you the city of Los Angeles and the people of Los Angeles, the high class and the low class, and the way they show it is fantastic, and the business side of LA and everything, which I really love. But it's also a great romantic story, a very beautiful romantic story at that, and it's also super, super funny. It's definitely one of my favorite Steve Martin performances. I love his performance in this movie, and I think it's an absolute delightful film. I think it goes very overlooked. I know a lot of people watch his like classic films and stuff, but a lot of people don't give LA Story a chance. They should, because it's one of his best films. Coming in number 7 is a musical. Yes, a musical he did, and that's Little Shop of Horrors. Yes, Little Shop of Horrors, Seymour. Really, pretty dark film. I watched this movie in my grade 11 drama class for the first time, and yeah, it was really good actually, because I loved all the actors in this movie, because like Rick Moranis is in the movie, John Candy, Bill Murray, of course Steve Martin as the psychotic dentist and everything. I love this movie. I think it's a catchy, toe-tapping, fun movie, but also very creepy and scary, because this guy makes this plant that talks and kind of wants to eat people and shit like that. It's pretty fucked up and everything, and the alternate ending to this movie is absolutely batshit crazy and fucking scary and stuff. I think the movie didn't end like that, but the movie is a really sweet movie with a really nice romance, with a nice romantic story and everything. And Steve Martin as the psychotic dentist, who is like the villain in the movie, he is hilarious and so great. His my god, his movement in this movie and the way he sings the dentist song, "You gotta be a dentist," just the way he enjoys inflicting pain on people. The way he just enjoys it and embraces the pain of being a dentist is so freaking good. And the scene he has with Bill Murray, who's addicted to pain and stuff, is easily the funniest scene in the whole film. My god, I tear up because how funny that fucking scene is. And this movie is just great. If you love musicals, you'll definitely love this one. And yeah, so good. Coming in number 6 is Roxanne. Yes, Roxanne stars him and Daryl Hannah. Another movie, again, it is a very sweet romantic film, but also a comedic film. And it's also about accepting someone who's different, who looks different and everything. It's about society and accepting person for who they are and everything. And I love it. I love the metaphors this movie brings and stuff. It's a very deep movie. It's not just a simple story about a guy with a big nose. People think he's weird looking and stuff, and he can't find love and everything. It's not just about that. There's a lot of metaphorical storytelling in this film, and I love this movie. I think it's a great movie. It's very, very funny. Steve Martin is super funny in this movie, and his chemistry with Daryl Hannah is really great and really spot on. Daryl Hannah did a lot of great romance stories, weird romance stories like this, and Splash. I love her in both those movies, and this one in particular is a super good movie, and she is super great in this film and super likable. And I love Steve Martin. I love his humor. He is super funny in this movie. And yeah, it's a very sweet comedy. Coming in number 5 is Parenthood. Parenthood is another terrific film. I love this movie. This is a film I watched when I was younger, and I love it. I love it to death. I love these family members. I love these characters. Again, a lot of big actors in this movie, like Steve Martin, Bonnie Hunt, Keanu Reeves, Joaquin Phoenix, Rick Moranis, like a lot of big actors in this day, man. I love these characters. I love this family. I love stories about families, especially funny or realistic. If you want to go make a family film, like a movie about a family, I should say, not a family film, but a movie about a family, either make it dark and realistic and relatable, or make it super funny. And this is a super funny film. Don't make it boring and melodramatic and shit like that, like a fucking Tyler Perry movie. Make it funny, and this is a funny film, and I love Steve Martin, I love his family, I love Rick Moranis in this movie. Keanu Reeves' young role is really good in this movie as well, and yeah, I love it. I love these characters, I love the situations, I love the story, it's a great film. Coming in number 4 is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is a terrific film. I heard they're remaking it. I don't know why. This is just a great classic crime comedy film. Steve Martin and Michael Caine in this movie, super good in this film. Basically about these two guys, they shafed people, they rip people off and stuff, they con people, they're con artists. And basically, it's them in a competition to like win this girl over who has all this money and everything, which leads to a big twist, which I'm not spoiled, but I love this movie. Steve Martin's physical comedy is super good. Michael Caine's like British wit in this film is also really, really great. And yeah, I just love this movie. I love crime films, and I love comedy films, and you put them together, you can get something amazing. Coming in number 3 is All of Me. All of Me is a film I just recently watched about a week ago for this top 10 list. I loved this movie. I adored this movie. I don't know what it was. I really freaking loved it. I loved everything about this movie. Steve Martin is in this movie, and He plays like this this guy, this like lawyer and stuff. He's got this girlfriend. He's basically got this typical life. He wants to be like a jazz musician and everything, and basically he has to serve this client, this rich girl who is dying. And then when she dies, she thinks she can put her soul into another human being, and she wants to put her soul into this girl and live her life into this girl's body. But then something gets mixed up and stuff, and then her soul goes into Steve Martin's body. So basically he's sharing his body with Lily Tomlin. Lily Tomlin plays the girl in his body, so she controls like half his body and stuff. Her soul is also in his body, so it's like two of them in one body, and it's a really funny film. It's super funny. Again, a lot of great physical comedy by Steve Martin, and it's super funny. It's super touching. It's a very beautiful romance story, too, and just it's a great feel-good movie, and I'm all for good feel-good movies, so yeah, love this one. Coming in number 2 is, again, a personal favorite of mine, a film I have watched for so long, and I can never get sick of this movie, and that's Bowfinger. Bowfinger is so good. It's funny. It's about the film industry. It's got two of the greatest comedians ever. That's Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin. Them two should have done more movies together, because it's fucking Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin, and they're both on their A+ game in this movie. They are both super funny, super enjoyable to watch in this film. I love Steve Martin playing a film director, trying to get a movie made and stuff, and he's trying to get this big famous actor played by Eddie Murphy to be in his movie, but he won't be in his movie, so basically he films him, like he stalks him, and pretends, well, he basically films the movie around Eddie Murphy's life. Eddie Murphy doesn't know he's actually in a movie, but they're putting him in the movie, and then Eddie Murphy thinks all the stuff that's happening in the movie is happening in real life and stuff, and it's so funny. It's such a funny idea, such a funny premise, and Eddie Murphy, again, is so funny, and so Steve Martin, so is like Heather Graham and stuff. Everyone is just super funny. And again, I love movies about filmmaking and stuff, so that's a plus in itself, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious and easily one of my favorite Steve Martin movies ever. It's so good. And my number 1 favorite Steve Martin movie is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yes, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles has always been my favorite Steve Martin movie. Even when I was younger, I watched this movie always on like Thanksgiving, Christmas time and stuff. I always loved Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's my favorite John Hughes movie. And again, I love like 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, and Ferris Bueller, Breakfast Club. I love those movies, but Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was always my favorite John Hughes film. I love this movie. I love how touching it is. I love how funny it is. Again, two great comedians, Steve Martin and John Candy, are both so funny in this movie. And how they like, one hates the other one, but one's like this charming, chubby guy, salesman and stuff, and basically they're just stuck with each other, and they're just trying to both get home and everything for the holidays, and super funny, super funny. Kevin Bacon's cameo, really, really funny. Just the jokes in this movie are just timeless jokes. Like the F-word scene at the car dealership is legit one of the highlights of the movie. And of course, you're going the wrong way. Well, how does he know where we're going? He's drunk. Super funny. And the truck scene with the devil. So many classic jokes in this movie. Here's an idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener. So many great jokes, so many great lines in this movie. I absolutely adore this film. It's easily my favorite Steve Martin movie. So yeah, that was my top 10 personal favorite Steve Martin movies, in my opinion. So in the comment section below, please tell me, what are your top 10 favorite Steve Martin movies? There's a lot of them, a lot of great ones. He's amazing, so of course. Yeah, give me your thoughts and opinions, give me your top 10s, comment below, let me know. And as always, for this video, please like, subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.